Blessings, beautiful being. So in this video, what I want to talk about is ego death. Now this is a very interesting topic, something that I have had to face a lot during my journey. Now what is an ego death and what it's all about? So what is spirituality all about? Spirituality is all about realizing who you truly are. And guess what? That is not your ego. This ego construct, the body-mind construct that we get here with, that we're given to, is not us. We are spiritual beings in a temporary human experience. And the whole journey of life is to see through the veil of forgetfulness, see through this Maya, this game, this play, and to realize that you are not it. It's to realize who you truly are. So who are you? You are consciousness. You are consciousness having an experience in this density, in this moment. So when you're born as pure. That's why when you look at babies, they seem so pure because they are directly from the source. If you've ever gotten a puppy, you know the same thing. We got a puppy, and we actually got 3 puppies in my life, during my life. And especially the last puppy we got, it was so cute to see her come from the source. Like I could see her aura. It was so beautiful. But basically when you're born, you don't really have much of an ego. But then you start going through this social conditioning and you start developing this ego. And the great acronym for ego is edging God out, or edging goodness out. So staying in the negative. And the ego doesn't want you to be enlightened. Because when you become enlightened, there won't be any ego. The ego will be gone. Gone. But like I was saying, you start going through this social conditioning, and then slowly but surely you become a solid member of society. This is even what happened with my little sisters when she was born. And when she was little, I spent a lot of time with her. She was like an angel, like a fairy. And now she's more like a regular girl because she's into the whole social construct. And this happens to everybody. This happened to me, this happened to you. Unless there's 2 beings who are fully enlightened, unless they have a kid, then this kid will be enlightened as well. But that's very rare. This kid will be a Buddha. But again, that's very rare. But you start going through this journey, and if you're lucky, you are lucky watching this video, by the way. If you're lucky, like yourself, you start to realize who you truly are. Maybe it's that you bump into a book, you bump into a mentor, you bump into anything that is gonna push and shove the ego, dig into the ego, poke at it. Anything that's gonna do it. It can start with, like for me, it can start with self-development. You start developing yourself, start becoming a better person. Basically, another great framework for this is something that I share quite often, which is the 4 levels of consciousness. There's to me, by me, through me, and as me. So when you're at the bottom, you're at the ego level, that's where you're identifying as the to me consciousness. Like, why me? Life is happening to me. So a great way to get out of the ego, at least initially, is to start identifying as a creator. Like, by me. I make things happen. And then naturally, what happened with me, and this is actually an interesting thing. So I love Jim Carrey, not for his movies, but for his spirituality. Of course, his movies are great as well, but I'm not the biggest fan. That was kind of it's like two-handed compliment, if that makes sense. But I love who he is. That's all I'm here to say. Because I really watched his movies. That's the truth. But he says that he thinks everyone should become rich and famous and achieve what they've always dreamed of, to realize it's not the answer. And this is something I truly agree on. If everybody on this earth would just achieve what they wanted, or at least a part of it like I did, they would realize it's not the answer, and they would have an ego death. So here's my story. What happened is I wanted to be a millionaire by 25 years old. And I got to like 20K per month at 22 years old, which is right on track to be a millionaire by 25, right? My dad was dead. That also affected a lot. So trauma can trigger ego awakening, ego death. But I had achieved this thing. I was making money, I was traveling, I was being with beautiful women, I was doing that all. But guess what? I was absolutely miserable. I was more miserable than ever before. I was just crying and just feeling like a zombie in my penthouse that I rented. Airbnb, of course. That's it. So that's when I started seeking answers. That's why you see a lot of these successful people have a spiritual awakening later on, because they realized that success wasn't the answer. And then some of them go crazy because they started using ayahuasca, all these psychedelics, and they don't have a spiritual background. They think they can bypass spiritual work by using some drug, which is not true. They will give you a temporary glimpse, but then you have to integrate back, and it's very hard to integrate. So I'm not a person who really promotes these things, and I've been advised not to use them because our vibration is so high as light beings. But that's what ego death is about. And then to share even further, it's one thing to have an ego death in the beginning. Now, what does it mean later on? So what I've started to experience personally is that the ego and the mind, which are basically synonymous, if that's how you say it, the same thing basically. Synonymous. Yeah, there you go. Synonymous. They're the same thing. So what happens is the mind will also start to play tricks on you. The mind will start to be like, no, don't go there, it's too dangerous. Like, you should just stay safe in this cocoon that you've built. Don't go anywhere near that storm there, that spiritual awakening thing. It's too dangerous for you. Your family might be also into it as well. Like, they might promote, like, don't go there. You're gonna lose your mind. Everybody's told me, even my mentor told me when I first got into spirituality, like, Klaus, like, don't go too deep into it. You might lose your mind. Well, isn't that the point of it? To lose the mind? The mind is not us. But yeah, the mind and the ego are the same thing. So they kind of walk hand by hand. And when you go higher and higher, the ego will try to attack and the mind will try to attack. And this can be, for example, with me, I developed and I still have this weird kind of itch and rash in my kind of groin area, which came after kind of like shaving, but then I don't think it's really the reason for that, because it has stayed for like 5 months. I'm like, can it be shaving? I don't really believe that it can be shaving. Like, that should be gone by now. I've used all kinds of medication, all kinds of things, excluded all kinds of diseases and so on. Nothing has really helped except spirituality. So initially, the mind was attacking. The mind was resisting so much, like, oh my God, I have this thing. It's itching. I want to get rid of it right now. But now that I've been with it and that I've really developed this power over the mind, it doesn't really affect me that much. Of course, it's still there. and it affects like the clothes that I can wear. I can't really wear clothing unless I put them like really low, like my pants. Like I have to put my pants really low, be like a hip hop artist, you know. For now, it's okay. In the summer, I should be able to wear like shorts, but I'm okay. And then I have like this hospital clothing that doesn't hurt. So I'm just adjusting to it, basically. I'm not really like paying too much attention to it. Of course, eventually I hope it will be healed. But I believe it will be healed eventually. But I believe it will be more about spirituality and kundalini than it's about some medical thing, if that makes sense. But the ego has been attacking so much, and I was going crazy. But then the craziness led to my awakening. I was like, okay, like it's enough. And I'm sure more things will come up. And for you as well, that more things will come up during your journey, whatever that is. But the most important thing here, when it comes to ego death, is you want to silence the mind as much as you can. Silence the mind as much as you can. Because the more you can be in silence, the better. You can meditate to do this. I just like to be. I like to also make these videos. It helps me ground. It helps me stay here. So find something that gives you that flow state. Because when you do, and when you anchor yourself into this every single day, your life will just become more peaceful. Peaceful. And then eventually, now we can't really fully get rid of our ego, and that's not the goal either. But we can, to an extent, transcend it. And then we can control how we work with it. So when there's issues that come up, the ego comes knocking at our door, we don't answer. We just allow it to be. And that's it. So I think that's all I want to say when it comes to ego death. I hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure you hit the like button. Comment below any questions you have or any comments. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe down below. Click on the bell. And as always, I love you, and I'll see you next time.